Yeah.
But just as a point of clarity, shout out to Dr. Tyla Waters. She was the youngest medical doctor in the country in 2021 when she started.
Oh, right.
She started at 21 years old.
Oh, she started at 21.
And then the year after that, I started at 21 years old, but a month younger than when she started.
Oh.
So I am the youngest doctor in the country ever.
Yeah.
And that's what I know. We call him Dr. Matthew, how we call Dr. Malinga, Dr. Malinga.
Yeah,
Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre. I did 6 years of MBChB at the University of Limpopo.
Yeah.
We were part of the first cohort.
Yeah.
This is important because the other medical schools that existed before the one in the University of Limpopo was established were established during the apartheid times. This is the first post-apartheid medical school in this country of ours, which is an achievement on its own.
Yeah.
So it started in 2016 and I got there at 15 years old, which is, it was a thing. You know, I was not like the most controllable student. I was very outspoken, had my opinions. I was expressing my critical thinking. That's how I choose to look at it. Some would say undead. But in any case,
what I want is that if I help you, please help me by helping this one.
Hi guys, this is the young Jojo, soft life Mazingele. What do Rano? If it's not inside, it's on top. And I don't need anything. Just only trading, that's all. Yeah, I'm still like that.
Alright, I'm Kay, another exciting episode of Peace of Mind podcast. We're coming live from the Caribbean B. And as you can see, I'm sitting with one of the youngest doctors in South Africa. If I can put it that way, There's been some scandals, on social media of some proclaimed youngest doctor in SA. So, even when I was preparing, I was like, should I introduce him as the youngest doctor? Because people might start digging things that they're going to find, Welcome to Peace of Mind podcast. I'm sitting with Gajeni and Jojo. How are you, man?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm okay, man, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And it's nice that you're just neighbors to here.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Nearby.
Yeah, nearby.
But just as a point of clarity, shout out to Dr. Tyla Waters. She was the youngest medical doctor in the country in 2021 when she started.
Oh, right.
She started at 21 years old.
Oh, she started at 21.
And then the year after that,
I
started at 21 years old, but a month younger than when she started.
So
I am the youngest doctor in the country ever.
Yeah.
And that's what I know as a fact.
Because recently there was Dr. Matthew in the news. He was
shout out Dr. Matthew or Matthew.
We're still calling him Dr. Matthew because they say it's a pseudonym.
Yeah, we call him Dr. Matthew, how we call Dr. Malinga, Dr. Malinga.
Yeah, Dr.
Dre.
Dr. Dre.
You see,
you know how it works.
Yeah, and not forgetting today, she's ghosting today.
I am ghosting today.
Yeah, Ntsako.
I decided to be
Ntsako the babes.
a ghost.
Yeah.
Well, this is how it works.
not every day. Usually I'm on camera, but then today I decided.
Okay, sneak peek at how these things work. Nice.
Yeah, guys talk.
Yeah, if you get the reference, you get it.
Yeah.
If you don't, you don't.
Hopefully they're getting it, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're getting it. There's a quote, which we're gonna start with, man. I got it somewhere. He said, "My 6 years as a student doctor were easy because I'm a bookworm, man." Are you a bookworm?
I don't remember saying that. Man. But we're jumping straight to that.
Yeah, bro, just like that.
I did 6 years of MBChB at the University of Limpopo.
Yeah.
We were part of the first cohort.
Yeah.
This is important because the other medical schools that existed before the one in the University of Limpopo was established were established during the apartheid times. This is the first post-apartheid medical school in this country of ours, which is an achievement on its own.
Yeah.
So it started in 2016 and I got there at 15 years old, which is... It was a thing.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's dope. Yeah, although when you got there, you probably were one of the youngest kids there in campus.
I was the youngest kid.
You were the youngest. How was campus life, man?
Campus was You know, I'm a big guy. I don't look my age. I certainly,
Yeah, you really don't.
yeah,
look
and
like
I certainly don't speak my age.
Yeah.
So I fit in quite well.
Yeah.
And I
So
never had
when
any
people
worries.
were looking at you, like, which age were they assuming you were?
I don't know.
Before
man.
they
No.
found, because like, I mean, even sometimes you find that even the people you hang out with, you are approached by people who are much older than you, but maybe thinking you are the same age as them.
I was always with this guy. He was born in '98, so he's
Yeah.
2 years older than me. So
Oh.
people assumed we were the same age.
Oh,
But the people who minded were mostly women. You know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But yeah, we worked around it. We worked around it. You know?
When you're approaching the oldies and
I'm mature. What could I do? What could I do, man? So yeah.
yeah, so as soon as they found out, you know, what was their reaction? You know, like, damn,
Hey,
you're 15,
man.
bro.
Yeah,
Like,
but
They
so
would hit me
bad.
with their puntu.
Yeah, I do the very same thing. Like, no.
But you know what? It built my character.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I can imagine, just imagine dating him for 3 years and then,
Hey.
not even 3 years or a few months,
Yeah.
Hey, man.
and find out that he's like 16 by
Yeah.
the time I'm 30 or
Yeah.
25.
It's
Or
always-
I feel like,
That would be borderline criminal there.
I'd go to jail for that.
Imagine, bro. And it was even underage by 15.
We should actually normalize asking each other's ages.
We should.
Like first date, how old are you? Can I see your ID?
Yeah.
I do that because South African women, man.
Yeah,
Hey,
you know,
what's wrong with us?
bro.
Huh?
What's wrong with
I don't
us?
know if you guys are on Twitter, but there's this girl called Bawa Lonoko. She was
Yeah,
trending.
yeah.
The girl is 16. She's dating some 30.
Oh yeah.
He probably
DJ
doesn't
what,
even know.
what,
If you
what,
find
what?
a girl in the club, you're assuming she's
Yeah,
about
that's
18.
DJ. What?
But that thing doesn't only start now.
Mm.
If you remember by the time, even us when we were in high school, there used to be our age mates who were dating guys who were working.
True. The taxi drivers.
Yeah.
You know yourself.
It started with taxi drivers.
You know yourselves.
And then there's the corporate guys, you know, coming
It's the
to
corporate
pocket
guys now.
campuses.
But some of them knows
Yeah.
that they are young.
Yeah.
They're just taking an advantage.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you know, it's easy to be a populist and say, oh, this guy's dating young girls, send him to jail. But we also have to look at the cultural background.
Yeah.
That back in the day, these old men would be marrying many women, and some of them would be like half their ages.
How their ages, yeah.
Understand? So
And-
it's gonna take a while for it to be fully unnormalized in our culture, especially in the rural areas. You know, in a township,
Yeah.
if a guy's driving a taxi as a girlfriend in grade 10, you know for a fact.
Obviously,
They're
it used to be
even,
like
so
that.
You know
even
yourself.
grade 9.
It used to be
I
like
used
that.
to see that a lot in high school. I used to see that a lot, especially those kids who travel
Yeah.
from maybe one town to another. If maybe you're from Akwinuk, but then you study around Tulamash.
Yeah.
Taxi drivers showing. So
There used to be one in the taxi who belonged to the taxi driver.
Yeah.
Every taxi used to be like that.
She's the
I
queen
saw
there.
this.
When she gets there,
I
she's
saw
the
one
queen.
quote there, where the taxi owner's girlfriend pays,
Yeah.
but the taxi driver's girlfriend will never pay.
Doesn't pay. but-
Imagine.
Yeah, I've seen that in
Yeah.
myself. I've seen that a lot. I've seen
Ayo.
that. But then how do we hold these young ones responsible for this? Because we can't just always put blames on the guys who approach
And
them.
that's what they want.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they want.
How do we
Ima-
hold them accountable?
It's kind of unfair to want to hold the young ones accountable.
Yeah.
You kind of don't know better.
Kind of don't know.
And you guys are
What the
manipulative.
The best thing to do would be to.
Don't laugh. That's the truth. You guys are manipulative.
How?
You manipulate this
How?
girl,
How?
and somehow you just make them fall for everything that you're gonna say.
Yeah.
Everything.
It's
And
called
you're, also
race.
and you're also leaving out something again.
And money.
Yeah,
Money.
money. Yeah.
And remember, when you're in high school, you can't like you don't expect to give me like 2,000 whatever.
Yeah.
So like this next in our shop.
Yeah.
And then get money, your data, and then that's all. Although my people are hey, they want the iPhones and Brazilian.
And they get them. But I think the resolution to this would be, if you think this is an evil that needs to be dealt with,
Yeah.
you inform the kids that there's such a thing and they need to stay away from it, because you can't hold them responsible because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
If someone came to you and dangled money in front of you and as a child, you're gonna say yes.
It's gonna fall for it.
So yeah, the people who need to be held responsible are the elderly ones who know the law, who know what we expect of them, and then they behave otherwise.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
back to your story. Man.
Yeah.
Back to your story. You were a qualified medical doctor by 21.
Yes.
How did you pull that one off?
Hey man, so the bookworm thing, man, let me
Yeah.
tell you guys,
Sure.
man. I grew up here, this house that you're looking at, man.
Just opposite here.
Just opposite where we are
Sure.
now. I was an indoors kid.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
indoors, because most of my friends were in private schools and I went to public schools, so we're different timings. you get me?
Yeah.
So I'll just be indoors and I was just on the internet. I grew up on the internet.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily that I was reading academic things, I was just knowing things about the world. And I guess that sort of translated to my academics because I had a way of retrieving information that was somehow different from the other people, because the other peers of mine were in the streets and learning other things that I might not know, but I was knowing what I knew from the internet.
Okay, so did you skip grade whatever, like Dr. Matthew grade 8, grade how many grades? It was like 3 grades.
Is it
That
not 4?
Dr.
3 or 4,
skipped.
yeah?
Did you skip? Did you get promoted to?
Can we not associate my brand with Dr. Matthew? But anyway, I was promoted from grade 4, no, from grade 3 to 4, and from grade 8 to 9. Yeah, I was only promoted twice, and I started a year early. Yeah, so that's how I got to where I got so quick.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you matriculated when you were 15.
Yeah.
And then there is a certain Mr. Walusimbi.
Yeah.
How much impact did he have, you know?
Shout out to
in
Richard.
your studies, how much impact did that
Shout out
have?
Mr. Richard.
Yeah.
You know, I was not like the most controllable student.
That's
You know,
cool.
I was very outspoken, had my opinions.
Yeah.
I was expressing my critical thinking. That's
Yeah.
how I choose to look at it. Some would say Andele.
Oh.
But in any case, Mr. Richard was a stern teacher. He knew what he was teaching about, such that when you asked him a question, he wouldn't be insecure. Because other teachers, when you ask them a question, instead of answering the question, they are threatened by your level of thinking that they might not have.
Oh.
You understand? So he knew what he was doing enough to answer me, and he was also strict enough to instill the discipline to listen.
Yeah.
So he changed my life for the better. I'll forever credit him. I ran into him this other time at the hospital.
Yeah.
He was happy to see me. I was happy to see him.
That's dope, man.
So yeah, man. Shout out to you,
Mr. Walusimbi.
Mr. Richard Walusimbi.
Yeah. Meaning that he wasn't threatened by your character, because there are those teachers, you know, as soon as you do what you were doing, they start questioning a lot of things about you. They deviate from the question that you're asking. And then now they start, maybe if they know your background, they now start taking it too personal. Instead of answering the question, they deviate from that. Next thing, they start hating you in class. As soon as they see you as that kid in class, they're like, hey man, here he is again. He's gonna start asking those questions.
That's really how it was.
That's how you were. So you realized, if you watch that series, Young Sheldon.
Yeah, a bit. I was a bit like that. I was not that bad. I don't think I was that bad.
Yeah. You're not that bad.
I was not that bad.
Were you like 10% like that? Because that guy was so annoying. Like even the teachers were like, hey man,
Young Sheldon.
let me send him outside to go spend doing something so that I can start remain in class, teach the other guys.
Another teacher I'd like to shout out on that note is Mr. Witness Mufudza. He was my business studies and economics teacher as well.
Yeah.
One thing he did, because I used to just ask questions based on what I know from what they're teaching.
Sure.
He would tell me, yo, what you know is good, but it is not what we're talking about here, and he would make that distinction. And it's very rare to find a teacher who has that level of patience with students, you understand? So definitely I was a bit annoying. I'm not gonna take that away.
Yeah.
But I'm glad the people who were patient with me were patient with me, and I think I'm a product of that.
Yeah, I can imagine being in class with him, and I'm older than him, is like Sheldon.
Yeah, like Sheldon.
In the Sheldon of our class, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that time I don't even understand anything. He's busy asking questions.
Yeah.
But it was a good thing, anyways.
My classmates like me.
A lot.
I made it easy for them to ask questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, we usually like have those ones who are waiting for other people or other students to pick up their self-confidence in order for them to ask. You have a person, but then you can't ask it in front of the class. But if somebody raised their hand and keep on asking, we're like, no, I can do that.
Yeah, I was breaking the ice.
Yeah, I think it also becomes easier for the other guys who doesn't like talking a lot in class, because you bring that conversation up where now everybody feels free to talk.
Exactly.
But then if everybody just keeps quiet, even the insecure guys are just gonna keep quiet like this. And when maybe you understand some of the things, you're just asking so that they can also come into the picture and start understanding more and more. It happens a lot in school.
It does.
Yeah, it happens a lot in school. So, matric, man, you get 8 distinctions.
No, I did not get 8 distinctions.
How many did you get?
So I was doing 8 subjects.
Yeah.
I did not get a distinction for English. I need my get back. I did not get a distinction for Tsonga.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
You didn't want
I
it.
did not get a distinction for business studies.
Yeah.
I need my remark on that one.
Oh.
But yeah, I got 5 distinctions.
5.
Yeah, and I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then in terms of Xitsonga, like, why didn't you like feel like you needed it? Was it because of what you wanted to do after matric? Like, you were like, as long as if I can get a pass mark and a good mark, I'm okay.
Let me not even lie to you.
Yeah.
I used to leave during Xitsonga periods.
Damn.
I used to leave. I'm not gonna act like I was the perfect student. I was doing my own thing.
Sure.
I used to leave and go to the staff rooms of the teachers I liked.
Yeah.
So that I could ask more questions. Because I felt like, okay, I already know my language.
Oh.
What are you gonna teach me about my language that I don't know?
Yeah.
You know, certainly there's certain things you could have taught me, but look at me living my life all these years after, and I've never had to refer back to a textbook on Xitsonga. I'm sorry.
I didn't think you were leaving and going to the staff room.
I was.
Some leave and go to the toilet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the problem.
That was
that's
never
the problem.
me. That was never me.
So when normally you leave the class, like, what would the, let's say, for in case, the Xitsonga teacher, what would they normally like perceive you? How would they perceive you?
They knew.
Yeah.
They knew. They knew that him, you know, because I remember this one particular time.
Yeah.
I didn't do my homework, and then I was actually doing work for economics during the Tsonga period.
Yeah.
And the teacher tore up the page that I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was not my brightest moment, but I stood up and I left.
Yeah.
And I went to her staff room.
Yeah.
And then, luckily for me, I was stopped from doing what I intended on doing.
What were you intending to do, man?
Let's leave that to the facts. But yeah,
so
man.
interested to like,
Hey, man.
I was the one that was like, what he had.
I was young.
Like,
I was young.
and especially because you like, they had to stop you. They didn't stop yourself.
Gosh, man. I was young.
Yeah.
But yeah, goes to show, like, I'm not the smartest guy on earth, you get me?
Yeah.
There was just certain things that piqued my interest, you
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
And I found it very valuable to prioritize those things.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then, like, in terms of the other subjects that you got distinctions in, the 5 subjects, like, what really made you, like, put more effort into them?
So, I never really, as I said, I was never really a bookworm.
Yeah.
Through all the formative years of schooling, I was just passing because I understood what's going on. You understand?
Yeah.
So when I got to matric, my parents made it very clear that I need to get good marks to get to university. Man, then they enrolled me to extra lessons at Disco. Shout out Disco.
Disco, is it that guy at the age of maths and science?
Shout out
Yeah,
Disco.
shout out to that guy, man. I passed him
You're a
last
legend.
year. He was still doing the same thing.
Shout out Disco.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
So from there, there were other people who were coming from other schools for the same extra lessons in mathematics specifically.
Yeah.
And for me, what that gave me was a motivation to know what's going on so I can be better than those people. I know it sounds somehow, but I had this inferiority complex of saying, man, my friends went to private schools except me. I might as well pass more than them.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so.
And at the end,
Shout out Disco,
And
I
it
did
worked.
that. It worked.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You got 5 distinctions, man.
I got
Shout
5
out to you,
distinctions.
not only Disco, shout out to you, man. For the
Yeah,
effort you
man.
put in matric, bro. Like,
I mean,
5
they can even
distinctions.
put you in like extra lessons and stuff, but
Yeah.
if you're not putting the work, you
Yeah.
won't make it.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. So post matric, man, you get your result. Probably, I'm thinking you had decided what you wanted to do and where you wanted to go.
Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah.
Not at all.
Uh-huh.
Let me share something. So my sister, I have 2 older sisters.
Sure.
Don't ask too much. But one of my sisters is also a medical doctor.
Oh, dope.
And she finished matric in 2013.
Yeah.
And she got like 100% in physics and maths.
Yeah.
So the bar was high. You understand? So when I got when I got my results, I was very disappointed. Like, not even 100, yeah.
Bro,
You get me?
there's some
You
people who
understand?
stand on top of the mountain
You
with
feel me?
marks.
So, but in any case, after getting my results, and before even getting my results, I was around a lot of people telling me negative things like, oh, you're too young, you can't go to university without an ID. I still had a birth certificate. You could only get it at 16 or 17 at the time.
Yeah.
Shout out my uncle, he got me a birth certificate. Oh, an ID at 15. But anyway,
We shouldn't even ask how.
shout out my uncle, don't ask how.
Yeah, someone is gonna ask how.
Believe it
Are
or
you
not.
even in matric?
Please believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got an ID before 16?
Yeah. Shout out my uncle.
Damn. Damn, bro.
Anyway.
Home affairs.
anyway, so I didn't know what to do because I didn't think it was an immediate thing that I had to confront, because I was being told by so many people they have to repeat because they're still young. And even the effort that I put in, believe it or not, I didn't put in that much effort. I thought I was going to come back and repeat. Because repeating was such a norm. Repeating a trick was such a norm. I was like, I'm okay.
And even at your age, you were like, I still have time on my side.
You get it.
Yeah.
So those results, although I was disappointed, they were still good. I could acknowledge that the good results, I'll get to university.
Yeah.
So my dad is like, okay, so where did you apply? I'm like, my dude, I didn't apply. He's like, what?
Yeah. You know parents when it comes to applications.
You know how parents are, ne?
Yeah.
All this time they don't ask anything. Come January, get good marks, they start asking, hey Baba, where are you going? Like, I don't have any idea.
Yeah. So from there, the following day after the results, he's like, yo, let's go. I'm like, where are we going? He's like, we're going to University of Limpopo.
Yeah.
And like, okay.
Yeah.
We get there. I make a late application.
Sure.
For me to make that late application, I had to stand in this other long queue. There's a building there called Multi-Purpose Center at UL.
Yeah.
It demolished around February 2016.
Oh, okay.
If you know, you know. Most of you don't. But anyway.
The big hall.
Big hall, yeah, it was there.
Yeah.
It's gone now.
It's gone.
Rubble.
What happened to it?
Maybe I'm gonna divert here, but have you ever heard of the term corporate social responsibility?
Yeah.
This is the thing where companies have to do something to give back to the community, wherever they are.
Yeah.
So the problem with those things, those corporate social responsibility initiatives, is that they don't tend to do that due diligence because they're just doing it to seem like. You understand?
Yeah.
So they get cheap labor, cheap materials, they do a flashy thing, they don't even maintain it. So there was a lot of rain that season, that year. Collapsed, they didn't even bother to come fix it. Because what, they already got their pictures written, multi-purpose center by this company.
The PR, the good PR. It was a PR thing.
It was PR, purely PR.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was nice in there, I'm not gonna lie. There's a video of me in there when I was still 15, if you can find it.
So
chop it in here.
So you were still telling me how they prepare you guys. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was saying, so the first month, or the first 2 months actually, we did the history of medicine and professionalism in medicine and medical ethics. So when they teach you these things, they go in depth as to how you are expected to behave, the type of attitude to take when you encounter a patient, you know, these things. It conditions you to depersonalize and look at things objectively first.
So yeah. No, that's dope, man. That's dope. You know, just rushing so that we can cover, because there's a lot. Your first job was at Mapulani Hospital.
This is true.
How was your first day in work?
My first day. First day, I don't really remember my first day.
Which day do you remember, like on your first year?
Let me tell you, when I got there, I was surprised. Because, so my dad was a teacher. And then I got there, and that those first 2 days, about 3 of the doctors, they were like, oh, your dad was our teacher. And they just made me feel like, whatever you need, we got you. So from then, I just felt very comfortable. If I had any inquiries, I would just ask. And I gelled right in, you know, because the exposure they give us in medical school as students, you're not going to get anywhere and not know what to do. We know what to do. It's just a matter of this different organizational structure and culture in different institutions, you understand? But once you get the hang of that and you get used to the people, it's an easy...
So it was just a change in the environment, like moving from one place to the next, but then still, what's expected of you is still the same.
Exactly. Just that obviously as a student you don't have any responsibility. But once you start working, even though you're an intern, the job is yours. If it's not done the following day, we're going to look at you and we're going to frown.
Oh, we're not going to be like you're an intern.
You have to do the job.
We're lenient on you. Everything has to be done according to the book.
Exactly.
So, you know, in a country where with a low doctor to patient ratio for less than 1 doctor per 1,000 patients, that's something probably that you know.
I'm aware.
Yeah, you're aware of. How do we fix this?
Make more medical schools. And they're doing that.
They're doing that.
Again, our institution, with the establishment of the University of Limpopo School of Medicine, was the first post-apartheid medical school.
Was the first one.
There are plans to establish one in the University of Mpumalanga too. And the only thing holding all of this back is we're aware that this is a country full of corruption. You know,
we know that. We know that it's not a secret.
It's not a secret. You understand?
Yeah.
They are building a central hospital in Limpopo now, which will serve as the main site of training for the University of Limpopo, which means a similar kind of development project would be necessary for Mpumalanga should they choose to do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
so these things are coming.
Even at the University of Mpumalanga.
Yeah. So these things are coming. It's just a matter of how much of a priority is it, and how much willpower is necessary to divert those funds from being used for corrupt purposes for actual things that are necessary. And a bigger issue with that is, in as much as there's a low doctor to patient proportion, there are still doctors who are unemployed right now.
And I wanted us to talk about that. What causes that?
It's corruption.
Corruption again.
It's corruption because let me not say most. There's a healthy amount of medical students who are trained under bursaries by either the provincial government or other spheres of government, you understand? And they do that with the hopes of saying we'll retain you and you'll have employment and you'll serve the community and such and such. But increasingly we're seeing those bursaries that were given not retain students. They just say, you know what, fine, you go away, you don't have to pay us back, but we don't have a job for you, we can't pay you.
Oh, you're off the hook.
You can look at it as being off the hook, but it's more like you're being dropped like a hot potato. It's quite sad because you find people who, we come from nothing. Most of us we come from very disadvantaged backgrounds. Your first salary, you go and you mistakenly buy a Mustang. After 2 years, now you don't have a job. Now you have to return that Mustang. All of those installments you paid off for nothing.
You're literally losing almost everything that you acquired in your first year.
You see. So that's what's going on. There's a demand, and the supply is there, but then it's not being met by the fiscus, and it's quite sad. And it's not like the relevant people don't know.
Yeah, they do know.
It's just a matter of the state of affairs in this country.
Because I remember there was a protest of doctors. I was also surprised. As somebody who hasn't done, medicine, who's very far from medicine, I was like, we were told that doctors can never be unemployed. Doctor can never be out of work. There's always a need for a doctor. I was surprised. Then I see doctors doing. I'm like, what's happening?
Hey man, it's really real.
But also there was someone again who raised this other point, was like, there are so many medical students who don't want to go and work in the villages. Is it true?
No, it's not true. So let me tell you, perhaps you'll say I'm racist for this. There's white people who will swear to the Lord that they will not work outside of Western Cape. If you go on Twitter today, because a lot of final year medical students qualified this week. They just finished this week and they got placements from the internship community service program. You will see them say, I got placed where. Please, let's swap. I will pay you such and such money.
Let's swap.
Yes, because they don't want to be anywhere outside of the Western Cape. It's an unfortunate reality.
They even offer you money.
Yes, they have the money. We come from nothing. We come from disadvantaged backgrounds. You can't say no to that. You understand? The people who are saying no to working in the rural areas are the ones who are better off, and most of us are simply not that. I'm not saying it's not true, but the demographic is not people who look like me.
I get it when you say we come from different backgrounds. Just imagine coming to me with 50 grand. Right.
And
I'm gonna take it.
You say no,
okay.
there's no way.
And then you're like, let me go stay in the rural.
Imagine.
And that 50K will be a good start.
A good start, it is a good start. But somehow it is unfair. I mean, to other people. I mean, just imagine you grew up there as a black person. We're not being racist. As a black person, you grew up in the Eastern Cape, and then you get a person who's white and be like, you know what? I don't want to go to wherever they placed me there. They placed you here. Couldn't you just? That's unfair. What if I want to stay there? And somehow you might find that they even have power to move you from that hospital to the other place,
so that they can accommodate someone there.
Who doesn't want to go? I also don't want to go there.
You also didn't want to go there, but then because of the money, it comes back to what we were saying about the young ones, falling for the oldies.
Yeah, true.
You find that you come from a background that can't even afford you an iPhone.
Is this one?
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's hard. We
I
have
see
to
you sweating. We didn't get it.
Stay hydrated.
I do that. If you know, you know.
Okay, why do you like that? If you know, you know. That's from the beginning. I've been meaning to ask like everything. Like if you know, you know. If
I see you guys are very professional. I'm an entertainer.
Sure.
No, we're not. We are.
I want the people to watch this and be
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
If you know,
If you know, you know.
Someone will meet you on the street like, yeah, mister, if you know,
If
you
you
know.
know,
I knew.
Yeah.
I knew.
Yeah. He reminds me of this other guy on Twitter, you know, every time he makes a tweet, reply, at the end you'll be like, done. Every tweet goes like that.
Done.
He doesn't make a mistake. He quotes, done. Send you a DM,
Done.
full stop, done.
Nice.
And we used to call him Mr. Dan.
Might steal that.
He might still be Dan.
After seeing a patient, done.
If you know, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
After an injection,
If you know, you know.
done.
Imagine that's how I've been paid.
Hey, man.
But then yeah, it depends on how the patient is because there's people wait they have develop a sense of humor is just
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the professional setting, there's not much room for expression of personality. I'm doing it here because it's a coded environment.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, when I'm with a patient, I can't just start going off. No.
And be like, if you know, you know.
Nah, I can't do that.
But then what if you meet a patient who's like playful and all that, funny and stuff? Do you?
The problem with that is you never know who is there to trap you into a lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
People will collaborate with lawyers to get you to make a mistake so they can sue the hospital. It's a thing.
Imagine a patient on their last breath is like, if you know, you know.
You see? And then now they find a way to twist to say,
Hey, that's bad, yeah. Lassy, that's bad. How did you even think of that?
If you know, you know.
Hey, that's bad.
If you know, you know.
You're making me cry.
So on the next one, when somebody wrote on Twitter and then they said, being a doctor, you are used to going through extremely traumatic events and you master the inhuman inability to just move on within seconds.
yeah.
Take that experience away without acknowledging it or debriefing. I then do that with everything else in my personal life and it's very difficult to stop.
Yeah, that's real. That's so real. And I saw that tweet.
Yeah.
We see a lot of things.
Yeah.
Can I swear?
So,
We see a lot of shit.
yeah. You can
Literally.
say here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say just that.
Just that word.
And both literally and figuratively. You know? So what happens is, like I said, from the get-go, you are told that you need to be very objective with how you look at things. Because every patient that comes in, if you're very empathetic, you're gonna start crying every day.
Yeah.
You're gonna cry at every consultation because no one comes to the hospital for good reasons.
Yeah.
And no one wants to wake up and go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So what happens is you have to do the job. The workload is high because, like you said, there's a low doctor to patient ratio.
Sure.
And
There's a lot of work that
there's a lot of work you have to do, and you have to have some sort of mental fortitude to carry on about your day after seeing very horrific things.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of this debate we had in medical school.
Sure.
They were asking what makes a good doctor, and the question was raised to everyone, and people were raising different points. You know, knowing your information, being patient-centered, and then someone said empathy, and that doctor said no. No ways.
Why?
And then we're like, why? He's like, so if a patient comes crying, you're also gonna feel bad and want to cry. You're not going to do your job.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying what they're saying is true because there has to be a certain level of I understand what you're going through, you know.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a lot to carry.
Yeah.
And eventually, if you don't do routines and rituals to keep yourself sane, it can take you over the edge. I have a lot of people from medical school and even at work who just stopped working. They're like,
never
I can't
wanted
do this
anything
anymore.
to do with medicine.
There's others who went psychotic, had to be admitted to hospital and put on medications because of the sheer toll of the things we see.
Yeah, damn.
So yeah.
Mr. Jojo, you wanted to come in. This is your time, man.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to ask you, you said you're for 1 year now in this, right?
Yes, I'm completing the second year.
Yeah, and you just raised the thing like, how do you compensate? I mean, you see a lot of, you said shit. What do you do? Do you have any, I don't know, any, do you do or any exercise that you do to, or mental, do you meditate, whatever? How do you deal with this?
So again, I need to stress this.
Yeah, stress it.
This was never my dream to be a doctor. It's something I had to acclimatize to. So for me, it's a task, and I'm a very task-oriented person. So for me, when we do get the privilege of taking leave, I go and I absolutely live my best life. I make bad financial decisions. I buy a lot of clothes. I call on my friends. I do everything because it replenishes me. You know, I'm a very people's person for my people, and being around people who make me laugh, being around people who I can tell genuinely like me, it makes me more capable to go about my day. You know, I don't have morning devotions and I'm not a very religious person, you know, but certain things like that can be helpful for other people. Yeah.
Because you did stress out when you were saying that there are certain activities that you indulge in order for you to like not dwell too much into what you saw, the shit that you see.
Exactly.
Literally and figuratively.
You see.
Yeah. No, that's
digital rectal exam.
If you know, you know.
Exactly.
So I think, yeah, man, just moving on. And also, you know, when it comes to your personal life, how does that, you know, mold you into responding to things that happen to you outside of the hospital?
You know, as a man, you want to feel respected, right?
Yeah.
You do not want to feel disrespected. But like I said yesterday, I was on call at Ntsako, and I saw a lot of stab patients.
Yesterday?
Yeah, and it's a norm. It's not unusual. It's a daily thing.
Yeah.
It will teach you that, hey, even if you think you're the man and someone is disrespecting you, think twice before you become aggressive. Because some people have nothing to lose. They will just attempt to kill you because they have nothing else to do.
Even if they get arrested, some people don't care.
They don't care. So such insights will teach you to, you know, keep your composure more, because you don't want to end up on that bed as a patient. You understand?
Yeah.
But also on an emotional front, the mental fortitude you have to block things that you're actually seeing in front of you from them affecting you emotionally.
Yeah.
It's very hard to turn off. You know, I'm single now, but I was in a relationship, and the girl told me I'm very cold. And I understand why she said that, because you have to be very objective in our profession. There's no room for leaving things to feelings. And yeah, I'm working on it though. Maybe I need a psychologist.
Maybe you do.
Hit me up.
Oh, check this guy out. If you know, you know. If you know, you know.
And didn't you like feel bad after breaking up with her?
I believe everything happens for a reason, man.
Okay.
And sometimes I have to let go. So it's my phone.
You can take it.
I just wanted to tell him to call me back.
Alright.
But my network is failing. I'll call him back.
Alright, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah. So you also mentioned that being a doctor wasn't really your dream. So probably there was something.
I wanted to rap.
Oh. Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah, man.
Oh, Jehovah.
Yeah, man. That's my alternative name in the streets.
Sure,
You know, I really wanted to rap because, like I said, I grew up on the internet.
Yeah.
I have two older siblings, my sisters, and they were also into music. My sisters used to listen to a lot of Destiny's Child.
Yeah.
And then they would have remixes with people like Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
And he had the streets.
Yeah.
So I grew up listening to that, you know. I didn't know. No one told me when I started school that the goal of all of this is to eventually get a job. I didn't know.
You just went to school because everybody was going to
Because
school.
we were going to school, you know. I feel like that's something you need to be intentional about teaching children, to say, figure out your personality and what would work best for you as a profession.
Oh, okay.
But I never really thought of myself as a professional. I just wanted to have the ability to explore my creative pursuits.
Alright, and I think my guy here, he wants to come in probably with a question, Jehovah.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
You mentioned your sister is also a medical doctor, right? Did you find a lot of inspiration from her? Who at the Lord Kuma?
No.
Oh, are you from a background? They were well informed with books.
Yeah, my parents were both teachers. And I have a few relatives, a few cousins actually, who are doctors as well. But I wouldn't say it inspired me. Like I said, I didn't want to.
Your dream was to be a rapper.
It wasn't really.
That's far from being a doctor.
You understand? Circumstances put me where I am, and I'm grateful for those circumstances. But the role my sister played, she was just a person who I saw that, you know what, if she can do this, so can I.
Sure.
You understand? It was just that type of thing. And I appreciate having her. Even now, as I'm navigating through my internship, she's been through all of these things. We can bounce ideas together.
Sure.
So yeah.
Jojo, you wanna come in, man?
Yeah, I mean, being a doctor is a very hard job, and you said that maybe your sister is not the main motivation. What keeps you motivated? Like, what is the motivation to continue? Because it's a very hard job, but on the other hand, people are very grateful for that. So,
Hey, thanks for that question, man. Grind keeps me motivated. As a man, no disrespect to them.
If you know, you know.
You know, I feel like as a
I think
man,
from now on our podcast, if you know, you know.
you know.
yeah, like I'm saying, as a man, you have to have a certain quality about you to say,
Sure.
even in difficult circumstances, I need to accomplish what I'm doing. You know, that's what keeps me going. And I have a lot of mentors, so to speak. Shout out Dr. Elliot Mutlowu.
So shout out
my cousin Dr. Vivian Zimba. These are doctors who I see, and her husband. These are doctors who tell me that, you know what, you don't have to do corruption to be successful.
Sure.
They are examples of success,
Yeah.
you know, and they're doing it legitly through being dedicated to what they do.
Sure.
So even though initially I didn't like it, there is a pleasure you gain from making someone better than when they came in. There is a pleasure that comes from being respected as a leader in the community.
Sure.
And the goal is to just take that to the top and hopefully become successful at it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And just before we jump out, man, you know, normally we see these things normally when you have soapies, you know,
Yeah.
having to confront someone else's family and tell them that this person, how do you guys like do this?
Family medicine, breaking bad news.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
So it's a topic, actually. It's
Yeah.
a topic that we have to study on how to break bad news.
Sure.
And there's a practical exam that we have to do in 4th year and final year.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Never crossed my mind.
I think you just get up and like, hey, Baba, that guy.
The way I'm so it's so
It's never that simple. And you'd never want to be the one who does that.
Yeah.
It's very, they used to delegate that to students. Because you never want to do that. It's a very sensitive thing. People will break down and cry. And you have to let them do that in front of you. You can't just discard them away.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, we're trained to do that. But it's not as how they make it seem on soapies. They don't tell you have 23 days and 48 hours to live.
Yeah. Talking about soapies, did you watch The Good Doctor?
The Good Doctor.
Yeah.
I've watched a couple of episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The show that I watched the most is House MD. Do you know House? Do you know House? Yeah, House was a
episodes.
You watched it?
Yeah.
That guy's a G. He's a G. So basically, a bit of a divert. He's basically a doctor who does not give a single fuck.
Oh,
yeah. To him, every patient is lying. He doesn't care about hurting your feelings. All he cares about is achieving the diagnosis. And that's a bad way to practice medicine. But
Really?
yeah, the main goal should never be the disease. The main goal should be treating the patient with their disease.
Yeah.
You understand? But I enjoyed watching that. It's entertainment after all.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of particularly interesting topics that they were teaching there that you would then go on and read about by yourself.
Oh,
So yeah.
Well, he was only interested in like making sure the person is fine, whether you hurt your feeling
Doesn't care.
in the process.
He was even doing unethical things. He would give you medication that is not sanctioned for that particular condition.
Sure.
He would break into your house
Yeah.
to look for potential causes of your symptoms.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hey, man.
crazy stuff.
Damn. Wonder what
But
inspired.
good television.
I wonder what inspired the series.
Hey, man.
If you know, you know.
It probably has like what 10 seasons, so it must have been good.
Yeah, it must have been good, man. Nothing goes up until to 10.
You see.
Without being good.
Exactly.
And then now we spoke about you wanting to be a rapper. And Jehovah, you said it was strictly. So who's a better rapper between Jay Jody and Reece?
Okay, let me make it clear, man.
Sure.
I would have loved to be a rapper.
Yeah.
I just so happen to suck at it.
He sucked.
Yeah, I'm objective enough to know that I'm not that good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but when I'm with my friends, I have rapper friends. When I'm with them and they play a beat, I'm gonna freestyle. It's a thing I do.
You freestyle, man.
Yeah, I have a passion for this thing. You get me? So yeah, even on Twitter, you know, I engage a lot in the hip hop, South African hip hop banter to be specific.
The reason I'm asking you this
because
question.
I was about to say, so Jay Jody is a Reece brother, and I'm an a Reece fan.
Yeah.
Because of a friend of mine who's a big a Reece fan.
Sure.
Borderline homo, but anyway. Jay Jody is good, man. You know when you have a brother and you do something with them and they're matching your energy.
Sure.
But he's not that good. He's not that good. Let's be real, guys.
I remember this time.
On my best day, I could be as good as him. But anyway,
you could be.
On my best day.
Yeah, on your best day. Yeah. It depends on the beat, maybe.
Depends on. But shout out Jay Jody. You're good, man. There's certain songs that I like. You know. Yeah.
And also, like, there are some people who normally say A-Reece is overrated. What do you think? Why are people actually saying that?
These are people who do not listen to the music.
Sure.
Yeah.
They don't listen to the music. Because normally when A-Reece comes in, you know which other name comes in? A-Reece. Let's see.
Ah, yeah.
It's always the case.
It's always the case, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about those two is, you see, now I'm gonna become a slime. So Nasty C has a big corporation funding him. They put a lot of money into his public relations, into his media. You see him on the music videos. The way A-Reece came up, he didn't have any of that. He was just like a normal guy on the street, just making music on his own, putting it out there, and we were organically listening. You know, and
it's a culture.
You understand? He was really about the culture, and he has a bad attitude. He once came to perform at the University of Limpopo, and the friend of mine who's a big fan was trying to get like a handshake. He pushed him away.
I know A-Reece.
You know, but still, when you listen to the music, you can hear that this is someone who values the core of what hip hop is, because there's an expression you have to have. You can't just be rapping about how you like women who play titties. Ntsako does that a lot. A-Reece, of course, is gonna mention that. It's hip hop, and we are gentlemen. We're gonna like, you know, some voluptuous women. But there's some subject matter there. There's figures of speech. There's a thing that he does.
So A-Reece makes music for a certain group of people.
For hip hop purists, like myself.
Yeah, like yourself. So now I'm gonna ask you like a series of questions on a whole lot of things, because I've seen that you're opinionated on a lot of subjects and topics. Probably in the net. Let me just say 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first one, Tyla Waters. What do you think?
Shout out to Tyla, man. She's beautiful.
Tyla Waters.
Tyla. That's the name.
No, you mentioned it as if like the Waters is a surname, bro. I like Tyla Waters.
Now they go together, though.
Yeah, she put South Africa on the map. Right? We always appreciate when our name is put out there. Do you know that song?
Waters.
Make me swear.
You should play it for him. For context, he's from Germany. So. You played for him. Yeah. So I was saying, white monopoly capital is a real thing. But it's not the biggest threat to our country. The biggest threat to our country is politicians who don't have the bigger picture.
That's something that happens when they were trying to rewrite the constitution in 1996, right? What happened there is that the constitution, they really didn't change much. They didn't take much. And to as much as you're saying, it was black people who went there, our president, he was part of the delegates. But still, if you see the way in which things are, and especially when it comes to corruption, nobody goes to jail for corruption. Nobody goes to jail for corruption, and we think it's gonna stop. It won't stop.
True.
Yeah, it won't stop. It starts from the higher powers, comes down to your traffic cop along the road, asking for a bribe, and it's a cycle. It's a cycle. Everyone
the biggest evidence of how deep the corruption in this country was how they got to prosecute the former president Jacob Zuma and say he should be jailed. And he never spent a day in jail.
That's the topic for another day. He
was found guilty and given jail time. He spent a total of 3 hours in jail.
I knew there was a warrant of arrest. So good.
No, he was arrested. And then something came out to say 9,000 people, including him, will be released.
Yeah.
For some reason I'm not aware of. But hey, man,
if you know, you know, man.
Don't kill me.
Yeah. Another one. Diddy choosing to pay off Casey.
Who? Diddy.
Yeah.
Oh
Diddy
my
choosing
God.
to pay that lady off.
Did you hear that after the Cassie thing, 2 more women stepped up
Yeah.
with allegations?
Yeah.
Diddy was an inspiration in hip hop media,
Yeah.
you know, in hip hop in general. Yeah.
So.
But that doesn't take away from the fact that where there's smoke, there's fire. Definitely, he's guilty of some of those things. Even his bodyguard came out to say that he witnessed her do those things to another lady called, is it Kiki Porter or something? And that lady is dead now.
Damn.
And they allege that Diddy has blood on his hands for that. But they say all of these things are popping up because of this thing called the Survivors Act, which is
I've seen that. Yeah.
yeah, if you have been sexually assaulted or abused or raped, even in a time that cannot be proven recently, you can come up with it at any time. They were about to stop that from the 22nd of November. That's when it stopped.
Yeah.
So that's why all of these cases kept coming in, because people wanted to cash out as soon as they can.
Yeah. So Diddy has to pay up a little bit more now.
He paid so that the big stories don't leak.
Yeah.
I think the darker things that could come out about Diddy.
Yeah. And then now Galaxy getting called out on social media. Galaxy
Boy, that's culture.
Is it Galaxy Boy or Galaxy Boy?
Let me say something, man.
Yeah.
I'm one of the biggest patrons of Galaxy Boy
Alright.
because I really stand by this hip hop shit.
Yeah.
And when AKA said Galaxy Boy, that's culture and died.
That's Yeah.
Those are the wishes of a dying man.
Sure.
So evidently, like we said about the medical school, there will be teething issues when you grow and expand, you understand?
Sure.
And it was a small brand, it's been around since 2014.
Yeah.
But recently they're starting to expand. And
They're opening shops in a lot
When
of
you-
provinces in SA.
yes, so when you scale up, yeah, there's going to be issues, there's going to be decrease in quality, definitely. I'm not invalidating the experiences of the people who say they got poor quality things,
Sure.
but it's not everything.
Yeah.
I can attest to that.
Yeah. I've seen
When I have it, I really have that shit on.
If you know, you know. Last question, right? Next elections. Next year we're going to the elections. How much power do we as the youth have?
Here, we have all the power,
Sure.
assuming that the IEC is not corrupt.
Yeah.
Because somehow, somewhere, it's government operated, right?
Sure.
And we know that every government thing is corrupt to some level.
Sure.
But we have to hope that our vote counts for something.
Yeah.
You know, and if we do not vote, it means there's a greater proportion of people who will vote for what we do not want. So we need to mobilize the youth and get them to vote for something. Even if you vote for Musimai Mana's party, that will definitely not win at all. But do something.
At least.
Do something.
At least.
Let's do something.
Yeah.
We can't keep living in load shedding. We can't keep living in places where the petrol price can just hike up out of nowhere.
Yeah. Where people just.
We're gonna end up like Zimbabwe
Where people get away with manipulating the currency
Giving
with
Zuma.
no
with
consequence.
no consequences.
We can't keep living like this.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's Jehovah and Lassy. We signing out.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure. Big one. Big one. Yeah.